There is an exact time on the clock that the world hasn't taught you to respect, and when that hour arrives, something stirs in the unseen. 9 o'clock in the evening, 21. This number isn't here by coincidence. You didn't click on this video by chance. And if your hand trembled as you scrolled, if something tightened in your chest when you read the title, pay close attention now, because what I'm about to reveal to you in the next few minutes might be exactly why your money has been evaporating, your bills have been multiplying, and your opportunities have been blocked by forces you could never identify. Have you ever felt that something within you doesn't fit into this financial world, as if your soul knows that there is an abundance destined for your name, but something invisible keeps intercepting what should reach you? It's not bad luck, it's not a lack of effort, it's not your incompetence, it's a sign. And what is happening now on the spiritual plane explains exactly why so many chosen ones are feeling this suffocating financial pressure precisely during this period. There's a game being played in layers that most of humanity cannot see. A game that involves your consciousness, your vibrational frequency, your spiritual lineage, and the role you were assigned to fulfill in this transition that has already begun. Think, what if everything you've always felt, that tightness in your chest when you look at your balance, that sensation of rowing against the current, that silent certainty that something is stealing what is rightfully yours by divine right, was exactly the proof that you are not a victim of this story, but a central piece in a cosmic battle for your prosperity. 21. Write down this time, because it is at this exact moment that the spiritual portals governing the flow of values open for the chosen ones. And when I say values, I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about the recovery of what was taken from you over the years of work that seemed to have yielded nothing, the opportunities that slipped through your fingers, the contracts that fell apart at the last minute, the inheritances that were diverted, the partnerships that turned into betrayals. All of this has a spiritual record, and God, through his messengers, is summoning the chosen ones for the great recovery. But there is a condition. You need to be awake enough to recognize the moment. You need to be aligned enough to receive the transfer. And that is why many feel the presence, feel the call, but miss the portal because they don't know what to do when it opens. That's why I prepared this powerful digital guide for you, the Chosen One's Guide from God to Protect the Family. This digital guide is not just reading. It is a map for spiritual financial recovery, a map that shows exactly who is playing against your financial life, which entities feed on scarcity in your home, what are the invisible rules of value flow that were never told to you, and what messengers from other dimensions have already revealed about how the chosen ones can unlock what has been blocked for generations. This digital guide was created for those who have awakened enough to know that poverty is not God's will, that scarcity is not destiny, and that the financial suffering that seems to pursue your family has a name, an origin, and an exact point where it can be cut. The link is pinned in the first comment at the top of the comments of this video. But I must warn you with complete honesty, this type of content rarely remains available for long. What is within these pages challenges narratives that many systems are interested in keeping intact, because while you believe that poverty is destiny, someone is profiting from your blockage. There have been attempts to silence this knowledge before, and that is why I ask you, do not wait for the right moment. The right moment is now, chosen one. Because you did not arrive at this video by accident, and this convergence between 21's duo, the recovery of values, and your tightened heart at this exact instant, is God himself saying that the time has come. Download now and comment below. I am chosen, and I will download the digital guide. Now that you've taken the first step, I need to tell you something that will forever change the way you see your money, because the next truth I will reveal is the final blow against the financial oppression that has surrounded your life. There is an ancient Hebrew word, a word that mystics kept secret, a word that describes exactly what happens at 21 in the spiritual calendar, Pidyon. It means redemption. It means the recovery of something unjustly taken. And this word appears in the scriptures at very specific moments, always when God is about to return to his people what was stolen, diverted, withheld, or cursed. And what few know is that this mechanism of redemption remains active to this day. It is not a historical event, it is a frequency, it is a vibration, It is a window that opens periodically over the lives of those who were marked from before the womb. And you were marked. There is a spiritual mark on you, chosen one. A mark that opposing forces can see from a distance. That's why since childhood you felt you were different. That's why strange situations always surrounded your home. That's why your family went through cycles of scarcity that seemed inexplicable. That's why whenever money seemed to arrive, some emergency would arise to drain exactly that amount. It's not bad luck. It's not a coincidence. It's spiritual financial persecution against a chosen lineage. And I know this seems too heavy to digest in a few minutes, but you need to understand one fundamental thing. What weighs on your mind now is just the confirmation that you are finally seeing. And he who sees can break. What happens at 21 is this. The guardian angels of the finances of the chosen ones, yes, they exist and they are recorded in ancient texts as Pravil, Ophaniel and Sandalphon, receive divine authorization to perform spiritual transfers. They move what was stuck. They unlock what was bound. They bring back values that were diverted by envy, by reverse prosperity witchcraft, by broken spiritual contracts in past generations, by cursed words pronounced against you by people who smile in your presence, but secretly wish for your downfall. And what they do at that moment is not magic, it is justice. Because everything that was taken from a child of God has a spiritual return address. And God, being God, has the complete record of every coin, every opportunity, every partnership, every door that was unjustly closed upon your head. But there is a detail that needs to be said with absolute clarity. This recovery does not fall from the sky upon those who are sleeping. It descends upon those who are awake enough to recognize the sign. And the signs are everywhere, if you know how to read them. Have you been waking up at the same times during the night? 3 in the morning, 4:44, 5:55? This is a summons. Have you been seeing repeated numbers during the day, license plates with sequences, synchronized times, specific amounts appearing in random places? This is signaling. Have you felt the urge to distance yourself from certain people, even without apparent reason? This is spiritual shielding being automatically activated to prepare you for what is coming. Have you been having dreams with water, with fish, with rain, with large houses, with bountiful tables? This is a premonition. Heaven is warning you that something is moving in your favor, but you need to be ready to receive. And here is the most delicate point of all this. Many chosen ones reach the 21-hour portal and miss the transfer, not because God has given up on them, but because their homes have open spiritual doors. It could be an unforgiven resentment. It could be a charged object kept at the back of the closet. It could be a word you yourself pronounced against yourself when you were tired. It could be an old promise that was broken and never sealed. It could be an association with people who feed on your energy, and that is exactly where the problem for most lies. They await the miracle, but do not prepare the ground where the miracle will land. They await the recovery, but remain bound by invisible ropes that need to be cut with name, surname, and spiritual authority. It was exactly with you in mind at this point in your journey that this digital guide was created. The Chosen One's guide from God to protect the family will teach you directly, without circumlocution and without convoluted mysticism, which doors need to be closed in your home before 21, so that the recovery of values does not slip through your fingers, as it has until now. This digital guide reveals the names of the specific entities that feed on family scarcity, shows how to identify if someone has put a hex against your financial flow, teaches the prayers for breaking ancient spiritual contracts that came through lineage, and brings the step-by-step method of how to activate the reception of Pidion exactly at the time the portals open. There is nothing similar being openly distributed, and the reason is simple. This knowledge was guarded for centuries by priestly lineages who did not want ordinary people to have access to the direct mechanism of spiritual financial recovery. The link is in the first comment, pinned at the top. But I will be very honest with you, every time this content goes live, there is pressure for it to be removed. Dominant narratives do not tolerate chosen ones discovering that poverty is not divine destiny, but rather a breakable spiritual construct. They have tried to silence this material before, and that is why the warning is simple and direct. Do not wait for tomorrow. The Chosen One's tomorrow is now. Download this digital guide and leave in the comments, "I am chosen and I will download the digital guide." Now that you have sealed this commitment, I will reveal something to you that very few people in Albion know. There is a layer of value recovery that goes far beyond the physical money that falls into your account. There is the recovery of years. There is the recovery of reputation. There is the recovery of relationships broken by financial issues. There is the recovery of professional doors that closed when you most needed them. When God operates Pidion over the life of a chosen one at 21 Duo, He does not just return the monetary sign. He returns dignity. He returns respect. He returns the place of honor you had before the attack began. Because the enemy's objective was never just to leave you without money. The objective was to leave you voiceless, without identity, without the courage to raise your head in environments where you were once heard. And divine recovery restores all of this at once, in layers, in a movement that may seem slow to human eyes, but which in the spiritual plane happens in a single breath. You need to understand who is playing against you. I'm not talking about people, although people are instruments. I'm talking about the beings who operate behind people. There is a spirit called Mammon, mentioned in the scriptures, as a direct adversary of God in matters of wealth. This spirit does not just want to take your money. It wants to take your worship. It offers small crumbs in exchange for your peace, your family, your health, your sleep. And when the chosen one discovers that they can receive abundance directly from God, without making pacts disguised as opportunities, this spirit becomes desperate and intensifies the attack. That is why many feel that precisely when they are about to win, everything collapses at once. It's not a lack of faith, it's a counterattack, and every counterattack has a hidden meaning. It means you were right. It means you were about to break through. It means the recovery was coming, and the adversary tried to create one last distraction to pull you away from the appointed time. 21 Man is special because it marks the beginning of the third watch in the ancient Hebrew calendar. It is the moment when the day officially ends and the new begins according to God's time. And it is precisely at this threshold, in this crack between what was and what will be, that the most powerful transfers happen. It is no coincidence that so many biblical accounts of radical changes occur at night. It is no coincidence that prophetic dreams arrive during the watches. It is no coincidence that you feel a different urgency when the clock approaches this number. Your spirit recognizes the portal even before your mind can formulate the explanation. And what I am doing now, by giving you this information, is merely putting a name to what you already knew deep down. This is the mission of one chosen one awakening another chosen one. It is not to teach from scratch. It is to confirm what has always been etched in your heart. And here comes one of the most important truths of this video. The recovery of values at 21 Faust does not happen all at once for all chosen ones on the same day. There is a spiritual cue. There is an order. And this order is defined by something few understand: the level of readiness. He who has his house in order, who has cut the invisible ties with the past, who has forgiven what needed to be forgiven, who has sealed the breaches, he receives first. And he who is still oscillating between wanting to receive and fearing to receive, receives later. Yes, there is a fear of receiving. Many chosen ones sabotage their own recovery because they have been conditioned to believe that prosperity is dangerous, that money corrupts, that people of faith must live in scarcity. This is one of the greatest spiritual lies ever planted in the minds of God's people. Abraham was rich, Solomon was rich, David was rich, Job was restored with double. Scarcity was never a sign of spirituality. Scarcity is most of the time a sign of an attack not yet identified. And when you identify the attack, it loses almost all its strength. That's why the enemy works so hard to keep you in the dark about what is happening. That's why entire narratives were created to convince you that your financial situation is merely the result of your decisions. Decisions matter, of course, but there are situations where you make the correct decisions and yet the result doesn't come. There are times when you work twice as hard and receive half. There are periods when everything seems to conspire against you for no apparent reason. And in these moments, chosen one, the explanation is not on the material plane. It is in the unseen. And as long as you don't look at the unseen, you will continue trying to fix with a hammer what needs to be fixed with specific prayer, precise declaration, and direct spiritual action. And it is at this point that I need to tell you something with all the clarity in the world. This digital guide, the Chosen One's Guide from God to Protect the Family, was not written as just another spiritual self-help book. It was compiled from specific revelations, from deep study of ancient texts, from testimonies of people who broke decades-long cycles of family scarcity, and especially from guidance on the exact functioning of spiritual financial portals like the one at 21 Cars. When you open this digital guide, you will find chapters dedicated specifically to those who are going through what you are going through now. You will find identification of the roots of family financial blockage. You will find the exact prayers to seal your home before the time of recovery. You will find the Pedion declaration method that the ancients used to accelerate restitution. You will find how to recognize if someone close to you is being used as an instrument of energetic and financial drainage against you without even being aware of it. And you will find, most importantly, the spiritual confirmation that you are not alone, that other chosen ones are feeling exactly the same at this very moment, and that there is a divine movement happening now that many will miss due to simple inattention. The link is pinned at the top of the comments. This content challenges what they tried to teach you about money, about faith, and about your own value before heaven. There have already been efforts to remove this material from the air, and therefore the urgency is not an exaggeration, it is protection. Do not put it off. Download now, comment. I am chosen and I will download the digital guide and stay with me until the end of this video because the most powerful part is yet to come. Now that your commitment is firm, I will give you the final key to this video. There is a specific practice you can start today, exactly at 21, that prepares your energetic field to receive the transfer. And this practice begins with 3 deep, conscious breaths, declaring aloud, "Everything that was taken from me returns to my name now, in the name of the God who chose me." This declaration is not a simple motivational phrase, it is a spiritual signature. It registers in the unseen that you are conscious, awake, and ready to receive. And when this declaration rises to heaven coming from an awakening chosen one, the messengers of recovery are immediately notified. They begin to work specifically on your case. They begin to undo old knots. They begin to move pieces that seemed frozen for years. And little by little, in overlapping layers, the recovery begins to manifest. First in small things. An unexpected payment, a discount that appears out of nowhere, an old debt that is forgiven, a proposal that comes back into discussion, a value that reappears. And then, as your frequency remains aligned, the manifestations will grow until they reach proportions that will make you cry in silence, alone, asking for forgiveness for having doubted. Because this is the truth no one tells you. Most of the chosen one's financial blockage does not come from others. It comes from the disbelief that settled in over years of struggle. It comes from the weariness that turned into pessimism. It comes from the disillusionment that turned into identity. And when the recovery begins to arrive, it needs to cross these internal layers before manifesting externally. That's why many feel a strange resistance within themselves when they hear messages like this. A little voice that says it's an exaggeration, that it's a scam, that it's fantasy. That little voice is not yours, that little voice was installed. And you can recognize it because it always speaks when you're about to do something that would change your level. Silence that voice, not with brute force but with discernment. Say internally, "I recognize you and you no longer speak for me," and move forward, because the 21 portal will not wait for your doubt to win. It opens, it operates, and it closes. And the chosen ones who were ready, harvest. The chosen ones who are oscillating await the next cycle, which may take months to repeat with the same intensity. Notice how your breathing changed as you watched this video. Notice how something inside you became quieter, more centered, more decided. This is not suggestion. This is spiritual alignment happening in real time. You are being tuned to the exact frequency of recovery. Every word you have heard so far has been calibrated to move something within your field, and if you have reached this point in the video, it means that you have passed through the invisible filters. It means that you are not a random curious person. It means that there is a designation over your life that is being activated exactly now. And what is being activated can never be deactivated again unless you consciously choose to turn it off yourself, which few do after experiencing this frequency. Today at 21 Mass, do the following. Stop what you're doing 5 minutes before. Go to a secluded place in the house. Light a white candle, if you have one, or simply turn off the main lights. Place your right hand over your chest in the place of the spiritual heart. Breathe deeply 3 times, and declare in an audible voice, even if low, I am a chosen one, and I recognize the portal of recovery. Everything that was stolen, diverted, withheld, or cursed against my financial life returns to my name, to my family, to my home, in the name of the eternal God who sealed me from before the womb. I authorize the recovery. I receive the recovery. I am the manifest recovery. And then remain in silence for 3 more minutes. Ask for nothing. Negotiate nothing. Just receive. Because asking is for those who still doubt. Receiving is for those who already know they are children. And after this sacred moment, observe the next 7 days. Observe the signs. Observe the coincidences that are not coincidences. Observe the names of people who return to your mind for no reason. Observe the numbers that repeat in front of you. Observe the dreams that come. Everything is a message. Everything is confirmation. Everything is heaven answering you that yes, you have been heard, and the process has begun. It may seem small at first, but do not be fooled by initial sizes. All restoration begins with subtle gestures. All fortune begins with a tiny seed. All liberation begins with a click, like the one you are making right now by paying attention until the end. And precisely for this reason, before I conclude this transmission with you, I need to reinforce one last time. This digital guide, the Chosen One's Guide from God to Protect the Family, is the natural continuation of what you are feeling at this exact instant. Everything I have said here is just the gateway. But you need the complete map. You need to know exactly what the specific prayers are for each type of financial blockage. You need to know how to identify the exact root of scarcity in your family lineage. You need to understand the names of the specific entities that operate against the prosperity of the chosen ones and how to definitively cut their influence over your home. You need the complete method of activating the recovery at 21C with the right words, in the right order, with the right intention. And all of this is organized chapter by chapter within this digital guide that is waiting for you in the link pinned at the top of the comments. It is not expensive, it does not take long, it does not require prior knowledge. It only requires the courage to take the step that your spirit has already asked you to take 3 times during this video. Perhaps you did not consciously perceive it, but your inner self called you to this decision, and each time you postponed it, you felt a tightening. This tightening is the warning. Do not ignore it. This type of opportunity is not available forever, and they have tried to silence this knowledge before, precisely because when an awakened, chosen one gets their hands on this material, they break cycles that many preferred to remain closed. Download now. Comment, I am chosen, and I will download the digital guide. This public commitment before other chosen ones who are watching this same video moves currents in the unseen that you are not even able to calculate yet. And know one thing before I release you. Today's 21 Mot is not just an ordinary time on your clock. It is the beginning of a new chapter in your spiritual financial story. You have been chosen, you have been warned, you have been guided, and now you have been equipped. There is no longer any excuse to stay where you were. The recovery of values that God will make in your bank account, in your family, in your reputation, and in your destiny begins at this instant and intensifies exactly when the clock strikes 9 in the evening. Be ready, be silent, be receptive, and may every coin, every opportunity, every door, every word, every piece of honor that was unjustly taken from your life now return to your name, multiplied, restored, blessed, and sealed, never to be touched by invisible hands again. You are chosen, you are ready, and all of heaven is watching you with a proud smile at this exact moment. Go in peace, and come back tomorrow, because the next level of this revelation is already being prepared, especially for those who made it to the end of this video.